Yes, welcome to Bikes of Rye, and check out this little rebel I have to review today, the Honda CMX 500. Shout out to Norton Honda in Letchworth Garden City for the loan. Links will be in description. Now before we jump on the bike and take it for a test ride, let us just take a moment to have a quick walk around. As we throw a leg over the bike, it is pretty obvious. We have a low seat height of 690 millimeters. The bike weighs 191 kilograms. And when sat aboard, you find a minimalistic looking LCD display showing your gear indicator, speed and fuel gauge. Lighting up the road ahead are these cool looking LED headlights. Then to help slow you down is a 296mm disc and 2-piston caliper with ABS. Front suspension are telescopic forks, and rear suspension are these Showa twin shocks with preload adjustment. Now the engine. It is a 471cc parallel twin, producing 46 brake horsepower and 32 pounds-foot of torque. Also worth mentioning is it has a slipper clutch. Okay, that's a quick walk around. Let's stick a helmet on and fire up this mean machine. Okay, so it's fair to say, maybe obvious to say, that this is newbie friendly. In fact, it's A2 friendly. And so as you would imagine, the bike is easy to ride. And actually, if you notice, a lot of the switch gear is all big, blocky switches. All the switch gear is easy to navigate. The clutch, super light. And the throttle, you know, it's not so responsive, but it's newbie friendly. You don't want to it doesn't want to catch you out, okay? So you're not going to get yourself into any bother by giving it too much of a handful. The mirrors are superb, big, round. I can clearly see behind me. These are important traits of an A2 friendly machine. Guy almost killed me. And it was safe to say the brakes worked a treat. Important to get across that we do have ABS both front and rear, so again, another important trait. And you know, that was a fine example there of that Fiesta pulling out on me to demonstrate what could potentially happen to you if you are a bit of a noob. To also remember, with the low seat height, when you're sort of navigating these mini roundabouts, it's really easy to plant your foot. However, I have thought that if you're taller than myself, I'm 6 foot, I do wonder if if you're over that, I do wonder how high your knees would end up being, because you're quite close to the foot peg, so you've got quite a bend in the leg. You know, the more I ride this around town traffic, the more I realise how very user friendly it really is. The gearbox is very clunky but very precise. It's very firm. You know when you've changed gear. There's no playing the gear peg. It's a firm, solid, and it's in gear. Clutch, as I mentioned already, super light. It's really easy to pull away. However, observation, let me pull up here. This here is in the way. So as you're riding along, you find yourself rubbing against it. So my boot is just kind of grazing the side of it. It does look to have a cover on it, so it's protecting you from the heat, but kind of makes you feel like you're slightly offset as you're riding along, if you know what I mean, because there's nothing on your left getting in the way, and so your feet sort of sit almost slightly offset at times. This parallel twin is a superb choice of engine in an A2 friendly bike, because what it means is it's not overly stressed as you're riding it around. You don't have to rev the nuts off it to get going. It just chugs along through the mid-range. It's not that bike anyway. Okay, this is a bobber style bike. You're not meant to be racing around on it. Given also its particular style of chassis, it interestingly changes direction very quickly. Also considering the big bulbous light tyres, it's rather quite a surprise. Let's deck it over here, drop a gear. I actually had some rear tyre slippage there, bit of grease maybe. It handles nicely. I mean, you just wouldn't expect it to handle as well as it really does, and you can see how it's changing direction as I'm doing so right now. Suspension wise, not the greatest. Okay, this is a budget A2 friendly bike, and so for me, you know, it's quite difficult because I've come from fancy pants suspension on bikes like my S1000R, but I'm still open-minded, and I do consider that this is, I say, an A2 friendly machine. It's built to a price, and so with that said, the suspension is reasonable. We've got double shockers on the rear, and they are preload adjustable, so that's about the most you're going to get from the suspension. So you really take it as it comes. Bit on the firm side, could be a little bit softer in my opinion, because let's be frank, it's not a sporty machine. Give this guy a nod. As this bike is built to a price, don't expect it to come loaded with tech. The only rider the rider raids we have are ABS. There are no rider modes, you don't have traction control, it's all you, and that's a good thing ultimately, and maybe a bad thing. Good thing because at least you're getting a cheaper bike, you don't have to pay through your nose for something, and it's all you when you know you're riding it. It's all your work, it's all your input. But then on the flip side, I guess if you're a newbie, maybe you expect to have things like traction control. So yeah, swings and roundabouts. Talking about roundabout, we're going round one now. Let's give it some gets going. If you really wind it out, it sounds fantastic too. How's about we pull up here and test its performance capabilities? Right, first gear, 3, 2, 1. Okay, quick summary then of the Rebel 500. What I discovered was the Rebel, in my opinion, is a sensible entry-level bike with bags of character and offers overall great value for money. For the money, and given its engine size, the Rebel not only looks superb, but also has a great sounding engine to match its personality. However, it must be said that you do need to work the engine and gearbox more than you would expect to. As for the Rebel suspension, there was no need for its overly stiff setup, though given the nature of its bobber style and the fact it is going to live in a town or a city, you really won't notice this too much. Honda have built the Rebel down to a price to be affordable, yet in doing so, it doesn't come across as looking cheap and instead appears modern and well built. And this is what I believe makes the Rebel so popular. It's fun, has appealing looks, and is cheap to own. Not to mention comes backed by Honda's reputation for build quality and reliability. Anyway, with all that said, if you enjoyed this and would like to see more from me, then please check out this next video. And with that said, thanks for watching and hope to see you again on another.